Hello, fellow Star Wars fans, and welcome to the channel. Today, we are breaking down the animated series first trailer for The Bad Batch. This is season one. I assume there's going to be multiple seasons, so that's why I'm saying it's season one. But I am joined by Ben. You guys have seen him breaking down the Mandalorian episodes each week. We just got finished with our season review last week. How's it going, man?
Good, good. Just got done watching some Clone Wars and Rebels over the weekend, and now we're here to talk about Bad Batch.
Heck yeah. Now, this kind of got buried underneath so much Star Wars news over that whole big Disney Investors Day meeting that they had when they announced like 10 different things. So I'm finally getting a chance to talk about this trailer, which came out in the midst of all of that. So let's just talk about our first impressions before we jump into our first slide here. What'd you think, real quick, about the Bad Batch trailer?
My first impressions were just the time period it was set in, because the trailer itself did a really good job of just letting us know, hey, it's right around and after Order 66. Because toward the end of the trailer, you hear Palpatine's whole speech. Um, so I thought that was really great. And yeah, just really setting the tone for the whole series, I think, is what the trailer accomplished really well. For it only being like a 2 or 2.5 minute trailer, it really set the tone for the series. And I think it's excited a lot of people, for the most part. I think almost more than what I would expect, because Clone Wars had a lot of talk, Rebels had a lot of talk, but I wasn't sure initially how people would react to the Bad Batch, just because it's not a big name like Clone Wars or Rebels or Mando or
Yeah.
whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
surprisingly, over social media like Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, a lot of people have talked about being really excited for Bad Batch. So I think that's a really good sign for Star Wars, moving forward.
Oh yeah, the Bad Batch has that animation that jumps right off of what they finished with the Clone Wars. And that's what I was most interested in when we knew this was coming out several months ago, is how is this going to look compared to the Clone Wars finale, especially that last moment with Vader and the stormtroopers. It's like they have everything already with the assets in the Clone Wars with the Rebels era different characters. Let's go ahead and do it. And I was not disappointed. It looks like it's Clone Wars season 8. Lots of really cool locations. We're gonna just jump right into our first shot here. We have something I didn't expect to see. Camino. We see Camino for the first time since, well, the Clone Wars, but it's still super exciting to see it in a post Empire Strikes Back, or not Empire Strikes Back, sorry, in a post Empire being taken over, basically, or a Republic being turned into the Empire. That's what I was trying to say. Okay, looks like we're having a little bit of technical difficulties, which happens from time to time, but we're going to try to figure this out. Let's see. Ben, are you there? Ben, are you there? Ben? Okay, we're going to go and hopefully he jumps back into the call somehow. Do, 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 do. Let's see. Okay. Um, let's try that again. Sorry, buddy, we're having a little bit of technical difficulties. Let's try that again. Huh. Okay. We are back.
Okay, we are back.
We are back, everybody. So we are gonna restart that whole sequence. We are going to our first screenshot. So at least this happened in the beginning. Let's get all the kinks out of the system first. So as you guys have been staring in the live chat at this awesome image of Camino, I must say, what do you think of this image, Airben? The first shot of the trailer.
Yeah, the first shot, I was really, really excited about it because that was something I feel like, we've been needing to have in Star Wars again. Like, maybe we speculated a little, was Mando going to go there? Was Clone Wars going to go there? Like, I really wanted to go back to Camino at some point, and just the fact that we're actually getting back to it, it's going to be really interesting to see the way it plays out because the Bad Batch presumably, uh, I would say maybe their chips might have not activated or something or another because with them going back to Camino, I feel like they could either be going there to maybe try to like save some of their brothers
Mm-hmm.
or I don't know, it could go many directions, but I can't wait to see what happens on Camino.
Oh yeah, and I do like the ship. I believe that's the same ship that they were using as a transport in the Bad Batch arc when they first arrived on that planet, and they just like crash landed the ship and scared the crap out of like all the clones. Right? Is that the same ship?
Yeah, I think so. I think so from what I remember anyways. I'm pretty sure it was.
Yeah, so it is neat though that we're seeing Camino, and I know a lot of fans out there do enjoy this story arc in Battlefront 2 when there's the original Battlefront 2, I think it is, when they have the Camino uprising or the clone uprising.
Yep.
I think we could see that canonized in this very series. Going
Yep.
into the next image here, we get a nice close-up shot on Hunter, and he is surrounded by these Phase 2 clone troopers. So yes, we're very much still in that Revenge of the Sith era. They haven't switched over to the Stormtroopers, and I'm thinking that at least maybe a large part of this first season of the show will focus on the clones still, and how the Bad Batch differ from the normal clones. And they didn't get along very well with the other clones, calling them regs, like they derogatorily call them that. So I'm very interested to see what's going to happen here.
Oh yeah, I think it's a really good shot for one, just because it's a good shot for us like as like hardcore fans, and then just the casual audience too, just seeing, more clone troopers and stormtroopers, it just really like, it really, like I said, sets the tone of the show. And I think with this shot, you know, it like I was saying, this show could go either way. Maybe maybe we're gonna potentially have the Bad Batch, maybe their chips do turn on. Maybe they're temporarily bad. A bad batch. Maybe they're actually bad, or maybe they're not. But I think with this shot specifically, we could maybe potentially be having Hunter in like a bad position, and it's going to be some type of an action sequence, I'm sure. And like you said just a moment ago, I think we could potentially have the Battlefront 2 uh that mission from the campaign canonized, I think, for this series.
Mm-hmm. And I like how they're all standing up like at attention, in like that parade formation, I guess, or something, where they're all just spaced out like perfectly and everything. I'm assuming they're on Camino. What's the purpose of Hunter going back to Camino? There's a lot of questions here that we have. This what's exciting about getting these trailers is that we are starting at ground zero basically with all of our speculation just on a couple shots here of really where could this thing go, and how are they going to surprise us this time around. Going into the next shot, this ship should look familiar to those of you that have watched Star Wars Rebels. This was one of those really big container ships in that series, and I forget exactly what episode that was that had the ship in there, but suffice to say, I think that this could be showing them maybe sneaking aboard, going incognito. We know from the description of the series, it says that they turn to be mercenaries or something like that. So I think there could be a little bit room for some espionage action in the Bad Batch series. What do you think about this one, Ben?
Oh yeah, I 100% think that's what's going to happen. I think what's going to happen really is beginning of the show, beginning of the series, because I'm not sure how many episodes this is. But let's say if it's 12 episodes, the first 2 or 3 episodes will have them dealing with the aftermath of Order 66 and like, the ramifications of that. And then I think maybe toward the middle, like the middle or the first end of the first third of the season, we're going to get them doing some type of mercenary related stuff. And then it's going to wrap all back around to, the main clone storyline having to deal with like the clones
Mm-hmm.
versus the Bad Batch, or well,
Mm-hmm.
I guess they'd be called Stormtroopers versus the Bad Batch.
Yeah.
Um, so I think it's gonna wrap around like that. I do think we'll definitely have a B plot because um, all shows do. So I think the B plot is gonna be they're gonna be, like I said, 1 or 2 episodes. It's gonna be some type of mercenary type mission, and I think this could be potentially the scene where we're getting that.
Mm-hmm. And well, I have speculation for what planet that could be. I think it could be related to a certain slaver planet that is later on featured heavily in this trailer, which we will get to. As
Yep.
for the next shot in the trailer, I wanted to include this because I just like the lighting in this. It looks almost like that arc in season 4 of the Clone Wars. It very much gives me that Unbara arc, like the Shadow World, where it's just the dark, violet like type hues of the environment, and that looks like Hunter there. But there could also be there's also other troopers in the background. I'm not sure if you can make them out exactly, but I don't know. I thought this one was interesting.
Yeah, I thought it was a really cool shot. Again, with these shots, some of them don't really tell too much about the trailer or about the show, but I think with this one, it's just more of setting the tone of the show. Really, it's going to be a
Mm-hmm.
darker show. It's going to be darker, as in the color palette, but also darker as in storyline, because I think many people have to remember this series is right after Order 66, so the Empire is going to be at like the height of their power right now. So
Mm-hmm.
like we, obviously we'll be getting like some brighter side of things just because the Bad Batch are a or well they'll end up being, say a group of like heroes or things along or characters along those lines, but overall the overall message of this show I feel like will be darker just because of the time period that it's in.
The Dark Times. That's it, man.
Yep.
This is that
Yeah.
show that I've been waiting for because we're getting on, Rebels, which is very well already into the establishment of the Empire. They are the strongest force in the galaxy at that point. You're already having people resist. But I think what could be really good about the Bad Batch is that it can actually show that transition of power. How does the Republic turn into the Empire so quickly? And how do the maybe average citizens of the worlds react to that? We haven't gotten a whole lot of that. A lot of the Star Wars storytelling, minus the Darth Vader comic written by Charles Soule, jumps us at least a few years into the future of the Empire existing already. So what we're seeing here is the absolute transition of power. Remember, we're seeing inside the trailer itself. We'll get into it. That whole speech, the exact dialogue that Chancellor Palpatine or the Emperor at that point says in Revenge of the Sith. So it makes perfect sense that this is all happening around that same time. Getting into our next shot here. Another familiar shot for Clone Wars. Fans of the Rookies arc, fans of Delta Squad. There you go. This is pretty much that same exact training course that they were on. How cool is that, man?
Oh yeah, I loved it. It really like, gave me uh like the Rookies episode. That was one of my favorite episodes for Clone Wars, and like you said, the training course with Delta Squad, like the whole just all of it. Like
Yeah.
just the whole flashbacks to Camino, like everything along those lines. It just makes me happy because those are time periods in Star Wars that I've always really liked. Like I've always really had a great appreciation for, and especially for for like the Republic Commando games, just like the training courses and everything, and then we get the training courses in Clone Wars and all that. Like I just think it's going to be really interesting to see how this show goes because I don't think we'll obviously be focused on the Bad Batch themselves
Hmm.
specifically, but it makes me wonder what could potentially be like the B characters, like it'll cut from the Bad Batch to like whoever the B
Okay, yeah.
characters will be, and it makes me wonder who that's going to be end up being actually.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Actually, I have an idea of one of the B characters that features pretty prominently to all of our Mandalorian fans' surprise. We'll get into that in a little bit of time. But first, I made a reference to this. The Zygerians are back, man. Look at that dude. He's been through some rough times, man. But I like the fact that they're back in their prominence with their lassos. So that's really cool seeing those style weapons and actually seeing him like wrap it around the gauntlet of Hunter there. So that to me is pretty cool. What do you think of these guys?
Oh yeah, I loved seeing them back. I was gonna say I forgot the planet's name earlier, but I just love seeing them back, and that's where I think the mercenary mission is. We're gonna be getting the mercenary mission there. That
Oh
that'll
yeah.
be that'll be your middle of the season story, in my opinion. That'll be like a 2 or 3 parter,
Mm-hmm.
and that's gonna be the middle of the season story. And I think it's gonna be really interesting though because just to see how the Bad Batch will react to the Zygerians, like the slavers, just because you know they have so many, because like the Zygerians, for example, they could be viewing the Bad Batch as potential allies initially, just
Mm-hmm.
because what if they're thinking, hey, these are Empire working for Palpatine, like they could be thinking along those lines. They'd be friendlies, not foes. And then maybe the Bad Batch, double crosses them and does whatever the mission is.
Mm.
And and I think it's going to go along those lines, just because you know. I, but I guess it really just begs the question: who will they be helping out?
Mm. That's
You
the
know.
thing, right? Are they going to be helping out like a fledgling rebellion that's being started up by Bail Organa and Ahsoka Tano? Like, what's going on there? You mentioned about like how in throughout the season this would take place. We're at in the season, right? So that begs a very interesting question for me. Is just not an in-universe question, but more of an outside of universe scheduling question. This is going to be our first animated series on Disney Plus that isn't part of the Clone Wars. So are they going to do episode arcs? Are they going to do more of a standalone approach per episode with the series? That's something that I'm almost more interested in than anything else, is to see how Disney Plus does with a brand new animated series. We've seen what they did with Rebels. We've seen what they did with Resistance. Both of those were on different television stations. I want to see how the heck they're going to do this. Heck, how many episodes is there even going to be? We have no idea about that yet. So there, even just from the programming standpoint, there's plenty of things just that I think could be interesting. But yeah, I think our first couple episodes will probably deal with Order 66. You're going to see the aftermath of all that. And yeah, I could see this happening, like the turning point. This could be their first mission where they're like they snapped and they're going to go to Zygeria, which could be a safe place for them because it's like a slave empire. So maybe there's like no Imperials there. So that could be like one place that they know that they're going to be safe, that they're going to escape the Empire if the Empire comes looking for them.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think it's gonna. I feel like it's almost like it's like your Tatooine, your backwater type world where, you can really hide out there. But then again, it also begs the question. Of course, we'll get into theories eventually, but it also just begs the question. Then, after they complete this mission, what will drive them to leave Zygeria?
Hmm.
So I think there's a lot of possibilities, and it's going to be interesting just to see which routes they go, because we still, we know a little bit about this series, but we really don't know much at all.
Hmm. looking at the next image here, I just picked it because of the cool explosion. Basically, it's like, man, this show is gonna have a lot of action. There again, we see what looks like our clone troopers, and they are on a wooded planet. It looks like I could see some snow and whatnot in that upper left corner. So I don't know exactly what's going on. I didn't slow down the shot enough to really analyze what's going on, but hey, it looks cool at least.
Oh yeah. Do you maybe? I mean, maybe that could be Kashyyyk.
Hmm, could
I
be.
mean, maybe, maybe one of the missions they do are on Zygeria, and then maybe another mission is, they go and help out on Kashyyyk with some of the Wookiees.
Well, here's the thing with Kashyyyk, because with one of the unused Clone Wars arcs, they did have the Bad Batch on Kashyyyk. So
Oh, really?
a lot of people are speculating that perhaps they could open up the series with them on Kashyyyk, and Order 66 goes through and they kill Luminar and Dooley there.
Oh, wow. That would actually be a really good way to start the series.
Can you imagine if they actually killed her themselves? Like if they actually shot her down?
See, I honestly think we should have something like that, really, because I think that'd be a really good potential character moment for them, because then they could, it'd be like a regret or something they'd
Yeah.
have to carry with them throughout the series and throughout the like rest of their lives.
Yeah,
So,
that would be kind of cheap if they were just like, "Oh, well, we're special clones, so we don't have the chips." Like that to me would be like kind of almost like lazy writing. Like it
yeah.
wouldn't really be that effective, but if you had them killing those guys and reflecting on it, that would automatically make the Bad Batch much more interesting, because what I keep hearing from most fans is like they're not excited about these characters in particular because they didn't really show us much of anything when we seen them in the first time. So it would make a really good moment if they actually made them get challenged that way right from
Oh
the
yeah,
get go.
maybe have them, kill Luminara or just some other Jedi to start the series. And I mean, hey, what if maybe in the first episode, to kick things off like they did kind of with the Siege of Lothal, what if you bring in Vader for the first episode and have him like talking with the stormtroopers and the Bad
Oh,
Batch?
oh wow, that'd be cool. That'd be cool.
Um, just because I feel like the way Star Wars is doing things right now, in my opinion, anyways, like with the Mandalorian, season 1, Baby Yoda, season 2, Boba Fett, and then even the finales for both were home run type things. I feel like there's potential we could get something really impactful the very first episode to get people talking about it. So like you were saying, I think that thing's probably going to be Order 66, maybe a Jedi getting killed. But I think there's a decent chance we could see Vader in the first episode just as like a cameo type thing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you see it in Rebels, right? They re-edited that first scene just to put him in there talking to the Inquisitor to get him more views on the ABC network. I'm
Yep.
pretty sure that's why it was like that. So people kept watching. It's like, oh, Vader's in this show. Let's keep watching. Um, Next up on this breakdown, we have something that is automatically going to shoot down my prior theory, which is their ship on Zygeria. We had said that their cargo ship was coming in, but that's clearly their own ship. So I guess they were on going to a different planet in that case. But I just love the architecture of Zygeria. It's clearly got like a more Eastern slash like Russian appearance with the way that the roofs are, or the shape of those buildings are. I think that's pretty neat. But a lot to look forward to for this. What do you think of this one?
Oh yeah, that was actually a shot. I paused the first time I watched the trailer. I paused it because I was like, oh wow, that looks like a really just interesting location. And like you said, it
Hmm.
has kind of that Russian, like Eastern Asian type feel to it. And I hope we explore that planet a little bit more, just because that's always one of my favorite things in Star Wars is seeing the like diversity in the planets. So hopefully we can really get some good content out of that. And I just can't wait to see how the Bad Batch really get involved in it. Maybe the first episode of, say, if it is an arc, maybe the first episode they're kind of exploring around and hear from local people about these slavers, and and they go from
Mhm.
there.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
and I can't wait to just see how it unfolds.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Definitely something that is I'm looking forward to for sure. Let's see, looking at this. Do. Screenshots. Oh, okay. Hold on. For everybody that's watching, I have a
Hmm.
little bit of a glitch for the way I'm doing the photos live. First time doing this, just bear with me here. Okay, we got that going at least. I got the small version of the screenshot, so we can talk about that. Messed up on the enlarged version, but that's okay. So this next one is of a really cool city that I think could be Coruscant. What do you think? I mean, the skyline, the way the sunset is, it looks like something I might have seen the sky like that on Coruscant before.
Yeah, I think that could be potentially be from maybe the first episode or two. And like you said, it's I feel like it. I feel like there's a really high chance we're going to be on Coruscant at some point, just because with Order 66 happening,
There we go.
maybe, I mean, heck, maybe the Bad Batch, maybe they're on Coruscant to start the series when Palpatine is giving his big speech. Hey,
Mmm.
I mean, here's something. What if throwing it out there, because when Palpatine's giving his speech, um, what if the Bad Batch helps, secure the temple? Like after Anakin leaves, what if they help secure the remainder of the temple?
Oh wow,
I just
that
thought
would
of
be
that.
good.
I mean,
I mean, there's a lot of potential with crossing over too, because for those of you that don't know, they had a investors only video of the Obi-Wan series, and the screen, or not, the concept art for the Obi-Wan series that they showed to the investors only had stuff of Anakin in the Jedi Temple. So it's like, huh. So maybe there's like a little bit of crossover that can happen between these two projects. Like you're going to see Anakin and Obi-Wan in the Obi-Wan series there in a flashback, and then maybe in the Bad Batch, they actually say something to Anakin as he's on his way out after he does the business.
man, I mean, don't get me wrong. I would freak out if we see dark Anakin, like with the black hood up and all that stuff, talk to the Bad Batch and then leave on to Mustafar. That would be crazy.
Oh man.
Gosh, like, we can't go too crazy with our predictions, but I would love that.
Looking at the next shot here, we have some more clones. Some more clones here. So I'm trying to think of what prompted me to look at this specific screenshot, because at the moment I'm not seeing anything that's uh that's popping out to me. What about you, Van?
To me, honestly, that shot, what it reminds me of is just more of Order 66. Honestly, like I know that's such a easy answer to give, but it does. It reminds me of a shot where, the clones are gonna all of a sudden you'll see like a little Palpatine thing pop up saying execute Order 66, and something could happen.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, I don't really see anything too crazy about that shot. Just another really cool shot of clones.
I think what that shot does is it leads into this shot right here. Boom. Palpatine
Yep.
is saying his famous speech in front of the masses of billion or trillions of people throughout the galaxy, claiming that the Republic is no more and it is now time for the Sith, essentially. Well, he doesn't say time for the Sith, but you know what I mean. He is
Yeah, that's
making sure he controls everything that is about to happen from here on out.
Oh yeah, he basically, I mean, just laid the woodwork down and everybody was just cheering away. I mean, it would be interesting though to see where they're watching this at is the real question, because are they going to be watching this on Coruscant, on a different planet? Um and again, it just all falls on the whole thing. Will they actually have the Bad Batch, activate their Order 66 chips?
Yeah, I mean, it's cool to think too because with the Mandalorian, they generally follow Din Djarin. Like every scene has him usually in it to some to capacity. Now with season two, they had scenes with Ahsoka and with Moff Gideon by themselves. But is the Bad Batch going to follow a similar route where it's like, okay, you're only going to ever have scenes at a certain location if the Bad Batch are there?
Yep.
Or will there be some kind of adversary, some kind of antagonist slash villain that we also start following that hasn't been introduced in Star Wars before that's in the Bad Batch, you know? Maybe it's Commander Cody. Who the heck do we know?
Hey, and with the Bad Batch, potentially being mercenaries and things, what if they bump into Cad Bane?
Oh man. There you
That
go.
could, that's a potential. Like, I feel like there's a lot of different potential options. For more bounty hunters. Of course, we'll talk about the one coming up, but I think, I think, yeah, I think there's just a lot of different options. Like you said, I think the formula so far for like Mando, like you said, it was Mando in almost every scene. And I think there's a potential for that being the focus of this show, just because a lot of people don't know about the Bad Batch specifically.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
it could really be filling in the gaps. Maybe in season one, it'll be similar to Mando, where they're in every scene basically. And then season two of Bad Batch, maybe it gets a little bit more spread out.
Yeah, but I just love it when I see live action film moments appear in animation. Like we got that
Yep.
during the Clone Wars, the series finale in that last arc. We also get that in Star Wars Resistance when Hux is giving his speech and Star Killer Base just like wipes out the entire Hosnian Prime
Yep.
system. So we get that, and here we go. We're getting this right off the bat. So give us more crossover between the films and the series because they only help each other out with strengthening each one of those entities. Moving into our next shot here, we have a brand new, well, not even a brand new face, but a new look, a brand new look for Echo. He is just about to put down his brand new fancy helmet and he is one of the Bad Batch, man. He is set in his ways as the Bad Batch, the tech guy. You know, the guy that can use his arm to basically hack into anything, as we've seen in the arc he was in. So pretty cool stuff there. Seeing him with his new outfit there. What do you think about this?
Oh yeah, I was super excited about that. Well, I was really excited in general when Clone Wars when he left with the Bad Batch. Um, it's going to be interesting to see with him how he's utilized, because will he be considered the main, like the quote unquote main focus of the Bad Batch, or will it be one of the others? So I'm interested to see that aspect. And then of course, like you said, in his uniform looks great. Um, and I just can't wait to see the balance really between him and the other Bad Batch members, just because they all have their own certain skill set. Like earlier with Hunter, with the Slaver, you know, he had his like whip around his gauntlet
Yeah,
and all of that. Like, maybe it's because Hunter's like the bigger, like stronger one. So each of the clones are going to have their own specific skills, and I can't wait to see how Echo utilizes his, because I think we could go along the lines of maybe maybe that's going to help play into the whole getting the chips out of their heads or deactivating the chips. I could see, maybe him hacking into their chips or something some way or another, and maybe that's
yeah.
how they get deactivated, because
Uh,
they have to figure that out to some degree. And I think Echo could be a big part of it.
yeah. I mean, he's in the droid computer. You know, all the separatists were doing experiments, so it seems rather likely that he would have a one up on other than most clones with what could be going inside his head there. What I like
Yep.
about this next shot is that it does show us, I think, see, I don't, it's probably the planet that is called Baraka, which we'll get into. But I picked this shot because it's cool with showing the ships having sort of like an in atmosphere dogfight we do see the Bad Batch's ship, and then there's these two nondescript transports also flying around in the atmosphere there. So I think it's cool to see different kinds of action in this show. It's not gonna just be, just on the ground, boots on the ground action.
Oh yeah, I mean, with Star Wars, everybody always loves a good dogfight. So I think just that's another aspect of the Bad Batch. I guess we really haven't seen too much of is their piloting skills. So it'll be cool to see, them in a potential dogfight with whoever this would be,
Mm-hmm.
and just
Mm-hmm.
to see how it really plays out.
And this is a character that we were making an allusion to earlier. This is Fennec Shand appearing in not the Mandalorian, not the Book of Boba Fett, but in a freaking animated series called The Bad Batch. This is fantastic, and nobody had to have seen this coming. And then we got the news a couple days after this came out that Ming-Na Wen is actually doing the voice as well. I mean, I was like, hopefully she is. I assume she is, but it's nice to get that confirmation for sure. So, first reactions on Fennec Shand having a little bit more screen time in Star Wars.
Oh, I was super excited. She's one of my most favorite characters in Mando right now. Like I love her character. Ming Na Wen plays her perfectly, and just the fact, like you said, that she's actually doing the voice just really adds to it even more. So, but in regards to this show, I think she's going to be a really cool character because she could either be maybe an enemy of the Bad Batch or an ally. So I think we could go a few different directions with her, but just seeing her in the trailer, and of course, it was right around the time, I believe it was right after the Boba Fett episode was when this trailer came out. So we see her basically kick butt in the Boba Fett episode,
Mm-hmm.
and then we roll right over to seeing her in this trailer. So it's like, dang, we're getting more and more of these characters fleshed out.
Oh
So
yeah.
just in the fact that she's going to be much younger, because in Mando she's
Oh
probably in her
yeah.
what 40s or 50s.
Uh huh.
So this show, maybe she's just starting out. Maybe she's like, it could be kind of a foreshadow, or more of a homage to like young Boba Fett in the Clone Wars series. Maybe we're gonna have young Fennec Shand like learning the ways of a bounty hunter, and we're gonna go along those lines with her.
Yeah. Ever since I seen her in that first season, episode 5 of The Mandalorian, I wanted to know more about her because they mentioned that she has connections to the Huts. Like she was one of the best like contract killers essentially. So I'm like, immediately after I heard that, I'm like, oh man, she's got to have a really good past history. She's got to have some really good stories. And I was just hoping that maybe one day we'll get like a comic or even an adventure in a book of some other characters or something like that. But the fact that they're actually putting her up front on an animated series is just so darn good, and it makes sense because Ming Na Wen, one of her biggest triumphs is playing as Mulan in an animated feature film. So it's not like she hasn't done a voice of a character. She's done one that has won many accolades, in fact. So just to see her, going back to the old ways of doing things while still filming live action for Book of Boba Fett is going to be so cool. And I'm sure she's over the moon with doing it because she's a really big fan of Star Wars, and not just because she's in it. Just check out our social media. She's one of the most wholesome actors on Twitter that I just love seeing what she tweets out all the time in regards to everything. Going into the next one, boom, we got some freaking Dark Troopers, guys. Well, I wouldn't get carried away too quickly with that thought because we did have these looking droids in Rebels, and they were technically called Sentinel droids. Now,
Yep.
maybe Sentinel droids are a precursor to Dark Troopers. We know that there's different versions of Dark Troopers because there's like Mark 1, Mark 2, Mark 3, something like that. So, you know, it's just cool seeing these guys. We just seen them recently. So there you go.
Oh yeah, that was really exciting seeing them. Like you said, they're Sentinel droids, sure, but it's going to be really cool just seeing them in action. Um, especially rolling right after us getting done with Mando, seeing the Dark Troopers in action. Maybe maybe the Bad Batch defeats these guys, and then what if we literally have a line from an Imperial officer saying, "Hey, we need to improve these troopers somehow or another," like alluding to
Yeah.
the Dark Troopers. Like I think there's a decent chance of something like that happening, because we connected Fennec to this show. I think there's definitely a solid chance we could have them connecting the Dark Trooper project to this show as well.
Oh yeah. Hey, shout out to the chat. We have Ulzim and Okan. Hello, he's saying hi. Yeah, so we do have a lot more going on with the Dark Troopers, and you saw I would love having that reference, in fact, to somebody like, hey, we should upgrade these. But if you look closer in the background, I think that's the same location that they had the training on Camino. Doesn't it look similar to that
Let me take a look
to
here.
you?
Yeah, I think yeah, that looks very similar. So maybe, gosh, I'm not gonna lie. If we get like a 3 episode arc on Camino, that would be a blast, I think. Because, say if this is on Camino, maybe that's part of the arc. Maybe it's along the lines of, like we were saying, like the Battlefront mission. Maybe it's like a 3-part mission on Camino, and you have your like level 1. You get there, level 2, you're
Yeah.
facing the stormtroopers, and then level 3, you face like the Sentinel droids. So maybe it's something like that.
Oh
Um,
man.
but I think that's Camino. I would have to
Yeah.
say.
This next image makes me extremely happy as well. This definitely looks like it's Baraka from Jedi Fallen Order, where Cal Kestis was hiding out for 5 years. Um, they have this planet, if you aren't familiar, in the Star Wars universe, where it's basically the giant graveyard of Republic ships. And then here we see what could either be an Acclamator class or a Venator class Republic cruiser. So this is quite fascinating. Maybe the Bad Batch has to go back to the planet to retrieve some kind of something from the Navicomputer for a secret location of somewhere they have to go. You know,
Yep.
maybe that's where how they figure out how to get back to Camino. Because remember, nobody knew how to go to Camino. Remember how hard it was for Obi-Wan to figure that out? It took like half the movie of Attack of the Clones to figure out where the heck Camino was. So that wouldn't be common knowledge, but maybe the clones know about it, but they just don't know how to get back there. So they figure, oh, if we can find a derelict cruiser and go to this planet where they're just like turning them into Star Destroyers, we can get that information to go back there. So that would be a theory that I would propose for going to Braca, and I could just see like Dave Filoni. Well, actually, I don't know how Dave Filoni isn't connected into this show as much, but I would just love to see like a little 12-year-old Cal Kestis just like in the background for a second. Like he wouldn't be like huge to the plot or anything, or maybe he could even help Bad Batch. Maybe he could, but I don't know if at this point he even wants to talk to a clone since they killed his master. So who knows?
Yeah, I mean, do you think I was gonna say in canon? I mean, he would be on this planet right now, correct? So,
It'd be very close. Depends on how far after actually,
mm,
because they have
because
that big
he,
battle and everything, and then Order 66. I guess he would be on there right away.
yeah, yeah, because if they killed his master, so he'd presumably be there. So, yeah, I think that'd be a really cool potential storyline or potential even just cameo. Like you said, it doesn't have to be anything big or over the top. Maybe maybe that is why they're going there to find out how to get to Camino,
Uh
and
huh.
then they bump into this kid, and however it plays out. um i think I think there's going to be a lot just overall for the entire series, let alone say this planet. I think there's a really good potential for a lot of connections. Look, we've literally seen Fennec. We've seen connections to Revenge of the Sith. I think
Yep.
there's a potential for a lot of connections that we're not even thinking about right now, and then we're going to get into the show and be like, whoa, this happened,
Hmm.
um, which really excites me.
Definitely. Turn our attention to this shot here. Is It looks so beautiful. Like I'm just looking at this image here. Like, damn, man, they have mastered that whatever animation they are providing with these series. It's just it looks almost lifelike, like just the haze of the morning, the dawn light or whatever it is just like shining over the wreckage as you see like the different star destroyers in the background, and they got the same exact outfits of the people that dismantle the ship's dockyards they used in Jedi Fallen Order. Like those people look exactly like Cal did in
Yep.
his uniform. So man, oh man, that just looks so good.
Yeah, I think we're definitely going to be going to that planet for sure. I mean, just from the last screenshot to this one, I think all signs point to it, and it's great just because I love seeing Star Wars connect like this. It's such a fun part of being a fan, and as you know, it's always worth it to keep up with all the extended canon because now it's everything's really starting to connect, whether it be in
Hmm.
live action, animated books, video games, everything. It's all starting to connect really
Hmm.
well, and it's just an exciting time to be a fan.
It most certainly is. And this next shot here is just something I wanted to include because I'm just such a fan of the incinerator troopers from Mandalorian and just flame troopers in Star Wars in general. Like you got the landing at Point Rain episode, I believe it is, when they're stamping out the Geonosians and they have all these dudes with the clones with the flamethrowers just mowing them away. Love that episode. So yeah, this one here just showing the clones just doing work. We don't know who they're firing at or why they're firing at anybody in particular, but hey, they look badass doing it. So I just wanted to share this screenshot.
Oh yeah, I mean I agree. Anytime there's fire in Star Wars, it's always exciting, whether it be the incinerator troopers or Django or Mando or Boba.
Oh
Just
yeah.
it's always exciting when you see pyrotechnics in
Yeah, because
action.
like everybody uses blasters so often, but it's like, okay, they're actually going to switch it up a little bit.
Yep.
This next shot here. Now, these creatures are from Zygeria, correct? The little dragon thing in the background.
Yeah. Yep. I'm pretty sure.
Okay. So that's our first shot in the trailer that I could have seen of Wrecker. You got his classic helmet on there with the face screaming or whatever you want to
Hmm.
say it is. And they're just running away. I'm not even sure who's on the dragon. It could just be one of the Zygerians.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's gonna be interesting to see just to see you know I feel like with Star Wars, with the animated shows specifically, like it's always interesting to see them include creatures like this,
Uh huh.
and just to see how they play into it. Because just to see, I mean, heck, I could see the Bad Batch maybe, like freeing this creature or something. You know what I mean? So maybe we get something like that. But anytime there's like for me when it comes to Star Wars, anytime you get cool locations or the aliens or creatures, those are always some of my most favorite parts. And just seeing like that dragon, like I think it's gonna be a really cool scene just to see how it'll all come together.
Yeah, the only thing is you got to be careful because sometimes the creature episodes, for me at least, don't usually have a lot of, or not. I wouldn't say usually, but sometimes they don't have a lot of weight and oomph to them that really
Yep.
push the plot in the story forward. Because oftentimes they get too centered on these creatures that only exist in that single episode and don't factor any other way into the story. So, I mean, I don't think in that case that'll matter. It's just a simple transport that whatever villain is using to chase them down. But
Yep.
it's still cool seeing these characters that we haven't seen in years and have their up-res look to them. Obviously, we haven't seen that in years, so it's gonna be cool seeing it in a much better, higher fidelity fashion. Now, this character you're gonna have to help me with. This is not Wrecker, although the move he's doing would remind me of Wrecker. But this here clone is undercover and he's got a messed up eye, which automatically made me think of Wolf, but I think Wolf's eye is the right eye, not the left eye. So it's definitely not Wolf, right?
Yeah, no, yeah, I think you're correct on that with his eye. I don't think it's Wolf. Um, I'm not sure honestly who the clone is because Wolf's the one, like you said, I thought of immediately, but then the eye was like, well, maybe it's not him. So I'm not sure honestly who that'll end up being. I mean, those are. Well, I mean, it could be Wolf, and they just flipped around the eye like they did Kylo Scar in the sequel trilogy. So maybe maybe that'll end up being him, but I'm not sure exactly
Yeah,
who
now
that'll end up
somebody I
being.
remember on Twitter was saying that it could have been Cut, who is the one guy that was on the farm, I believe, that had the kids, and then
Yep.
all that happened. So I don't know why they're saying him of all people, because I'm pretty sure he had both eyes, but that was a rumor I seen going around the
Hmm.
internet.
That could be an interesting one, but then again, it just also begs the question: why would he leave? You know, why would he leave
Yeah.
to begin with? So
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure about that, but I'm just trying to think in canon what other clones have like eye issues. Um, yeah,
Yeah, like I
Wolf's the main
said,
one I think
Wolf is
of.
the main one.
Yeah.
And getting into another one, we're getting down to the wire here. We have the Clone Uprising, right? We have these guys clearly firing at not Hunter, Crosshair. That looks like Crosshair because he's got the gray hair and he's got that shoulder pad, which I recognize. It's like the off-centered one on his left shoulder. But it's like you see the clones without the helmets. So that was really cool. Like obviously they're in an area right now where the clones feel relatively safe and at ease, and this emergency like literally must have just happened where they're like, "Okay, we got to get our gear on and start firing at this guy to protect ourselves." And they're fumbling for weapons and whatnot, it seems like. But it's going to be cool to see if this is the reason why the Empire stops using clones to begin with so early on in the Empire. There had to have been some reason why they were not reliable, they were not doing what they should have been doing for them to basically get the axe and have to go their own way in life rather than be soldiers of the Empire. I mean, we know some certain instances of that, namely with the Darth Vader comics, where in that you actually had the Inquisitor troopers get told to basically execute Order 66. So they're able to do that on their own Inquisitors from one of the renegade Jedi. So yeah, it's something that it's gonna be interesting to see how if that this clone uprising might be the actual reason for all that to stop.
Yeah, I think there's a solid chance. I mean, you know, like we said, you know, canonizing the old Battlefront game, but maybe they took inspiration from that and maybe, you know, like you said, we're going to have the clone uprising. So then, you know, this could be maybe that's the story point of this story of this first season of Bad Batch. Maybe the Bad Batch, you know, puts a imprint on the Empire where it's like, you know what, maybe we should ditch the whole clone idea and, you know, switch it over to stormtroopers or actual other creatures, other humans. Um, yeah, so I think that's a good shot actually. And like you said, it has to be in a location like a Empire base. It has to be some type of an Empire base or something because the clones, you know, they would always keep their helmets on,
Yeah,
always. So it has to be some type of a mess hall, some type of a base where they're relaxed or, you know, something along those lines because, you know, otherwise they wouldn't have their helmets off just casually walking around.
yeah, no, seriously, it seems likely. It seems likely. All right, okay. I gotta mess with your video feed right here because like every once in a while it'll glitch out and then I have to recenter it on the whiteboard. But we're gonna get you back in a second here. In the meantime, I'm gonna bring up our next screenshot here, and that is this one. So this is looks like Hunter, right? Does that look like Hunter to
Yeah,
you?
yeah, I'm pretty sure that's Hunter.
Yeah, because he always has that one weapon, that standardized weapon. Um,
Yep.
but what's interesting about this one is that you do have the droids, and these droids look like they could be like maybe hut droids or something because they're definitely not separatist droids. Um, so that's what I was thinking at least in this shot. What about you?
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely. It's definitely not separatist droids. I think, like you said, I think they're hut droids or some type of, the criminal element of the droids, like, or um, like
The
some type
droid
of crime
Gatra.
lords we're going to be dealing with.
Wouldn't that be hilarious if it actually turned out to be the droid Gatra, which are basically like the sentient like
Yep.
droids that have their own faction? Like they
That.
mentioned that in the first episode of Mando, like, oh, not the droid Gatra or something like the guy says. I was like, well, that was a deep
Yep.
cut, but what happens if they actually go into that?
I mean, hey, that's a possibility. You never know, honestly. With, I mean, how impressively Star Wars has been connecting things. Maybe it turns out to be them. If it's not them, then I think, with the whole premise of these guys being like mercenaries or things along those lines, we'll be dealing with like the criminal element of Star Wars possibly. So
Yeah.
maybe it's just like the criminals, like security droids,
Yeah.
or like their whatever you call like your host droids, I
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
guess.
I
And
think that's the more likely answer is just they're just some lackeys droids that he has as bodyguards.
yep,
But I've definitely not seen that design before, so that's why I'm curious. Like,
no.
okay, they almost look like the droids that are the one that's in charge of the torture devices in Return of the Jedi, in Jabba's
See,
palace a little bit.
that's what I literally was actually gonna just say. Was I was gonna say it seems like it looks kind of like the droid that's like, zapping R2 and
Yep.
or that other droid that he had strung up um at the beginning of episode 6. So maybe it's a similar type of model or like a different model in the same line.
Hmm. Going to the next shot here, we have it looks like the Bad Batch's ship and are pursued by two very small craft. They could even be drone operated. I'm not sure, but to me at least it shows yeah we're gonna get some action in space. So yes, it's Star Wars, and most Star Wars has some kind of space battles. And again, it looks like this is that unorthodox kind of space battle where it's not just between TIE fighters and X-Wings or Jedi starfighters. Like this is like the military version of that. Like the espionage going through space and they get tracked. They gotta pull some fancy maneuvers to get out of there. So it's cool stuff.
Oh yeah, for sure. Space battles or any type of dogfights really in Star Wars, like I said earlier, those are always so much fun. Just the cinematography. On a side note, that's something that's always so impressive. Like obviously, you can do so much more with cinematography and animation, but I just love the cinematography they've done for the Clone Wars and Rebels, and this show. It looks like it's going to continue that
Hmm.
cinematography for the space flights or the dogfights that are in the atmosphere, whatever. They're always shot so well. Especially with it just being animation, it's so impressive.
Oh yeah. And this one brings back some memories for me. This is the ATTs are still in use during this time. I mean, why wouldn't they? But eventually they're going to get turned into AT-ATs, so that's something to think about. But still, this battle it kind of gives me a little bit of reminiscent feels of the Battle of Geonosis because it's got that similar like arid landscape from the looks of it, that like reddish hue to the land as well, and it looks like a pretty good like large scale battle as well. So it's what is going on. I'm not sure if you can make out what the enemy troops are or what they look like because I can't. But
Yeah, no, I mean, looking at it on mobile, even just zooming in on it, you can't really tell who the enemy troops are. I mean, maybe, like we said, maybe the Bad Batch liberates some clones and are helping out with like a mini rebellion situation or
oh
something.
my gosh, can you imagine if they actually get like a full scale battle where it's literally like clones versus clones by the end of the season?
See, I think that'd be really cool though, just because it would really, we could really show the emotion of clone troopers. Like, you know, it's either I have to fight or my own, it's either I have to fight and kill my own brothers or I have to just let myself get killed by them. So I think that could be a really cool storyline. Um, just because, for the Bad Batch, I mean, presumably, I don't think it's going to be like a 7 or 8 season show. So I think by the end of the season, just this season one, we're going to get something big like that. Like, just imagine how cool it would be to see clones versus clones, or the early stage stormtroopers, I guess,
Mm.
and see that whole type of battle, and then
Oh
maybe
man.
maybe the Bad Batch and the clones beat the Empire's people, and maybe that's where our theory comes in about maybe that's when you get the Imperial officer going, hey, maybe we should think about recruiting our own people. And maybe that's the early starts to the
Yeah.
stormtroopers.
Yeah. Yeah. Could be. Could be. We're getting into the end here, and we do have what looks like it could be a Dianoga strangling Wrecker. Now, the reason why I say Dianoga is specifically is because this thing is in the water, and we always know from what we've seen of Dianogas is they are in the water. I did see some people saying it could have been a Rathtar, but just because the water's involved, I'm thinking it's going to be a Dianoga.
Yep, I 100% think that's a Dianoga. I mean, if it's not, then I'd be not disappointed, but I'd be really surprised if it wasn't, because it just has to be a Dianoga.
Yeah, really. But I mean, it's cool to have. Again, we were talking about creatures earlier in the video, but it is nice to have those creatures, especially a creature that I haven't seen since A New Hope. Like, I'm pretty sure Dianogas were not in anything else in Star Wars, like, as far as like screen stuff. Like, maybe there was a couple in Shadows of the Empire and the depths of Coruscant, but other than that, at least definitely in canon, there hasn't been anything.
Yeah, not in. I mean, especially not visually. I can't think of one. There's none in Clone Wars, none in Rebels, none in Mando, of course, and then none in the sequel trilogy or Solo or Rogue One. So yeah, the last time we saw Dianoga was A New Hope.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We have an awesome legendary character making an appearance in Bad Batch and making his appearance in many animated series, and that is Grand Moff Tarkin. Now, at this point, technically he isn't a Grand Moff because I believe that doesn't happen until about like 5 years after the events of Revenge of the Sith. So, I mean, I guess he's just a Moff at this point, but he's still very much in charge of most things on a galactic scale that Palpatine deems necessary. So I like the stylistic approach where they clearly took that from Clone Wars and just gave him a little bit more gray into his hair and gave him a different uniform, but his face is still just as chiseled, and even Steven Stanton is back on board. So it's great to see this guy back. He's such a focal point during the Empire. And when you're dealing with a massive story that deals with the Empire, you're gonna have to have this guy at some point show up. So
Oh yeah, well, with that shot, actually, one of the first thoughts I thought of was this is probably early on in the series, just because the red clone troopers are in the background. So I think that's before maybe we start switching over to more stormtrooper focus.
mm-hmm.
Um, and then, as you said, it's great seeing Tarkin, and I think I think actually this scene with Tarkin, I think that's our potentially best chance possibly of seeing Vader, because as we
Mm-hmm.
know in canon, like him and Vader are pretty close. So maybe we get a little hologram of him talking to Lord Vader. Um, just because Tarkin's such a, I feel like he's an underrated character in Star Wars. Like he's done so many interesting things, and I just can't wait to see how they utilize him, because maybe he's the villain or the big bad of this season.
Oh,
Maybe
yeah.
he's it. Maybe we get the first couple episodes, whatever, Order 66. These clones end up being, they deactivate their chip, and maybe Tarkin, sends out the order to hunt them down or something,
Yeah.
and maybe it all wraps back around to Tarkin being in the final few episodes.
Yeah. And you got to think that Tarkin will be he's a cunning adversary and he's got to be threatening. So I think that he's going to have to try to off one of them by the end of the season. It's going to go from 5 to 4 people. I think by the end of this first season, you're going to see the risk of crossing the Empire, and the chances that you take with doing such a thing are not easy to live by. And I think Tarkin's going to really, you're going to see his reputation come through pretty quickly because they got to set him up to be a very good villain that can't be, you know, defeated every other week. So,
Yeah, he can't be just your weekly little villain that,
no.
oh, whoops, I got defeated again. Um, like you said, maybe he offs one of these troopers. Maybe that helps him get his rank up, or helps lead into him getting a higher rank in the Empire.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And moving to our final image to break down tonight, we have another space action scene. We got that shuttle again, but we also have a clearer look at the shuttle behind. Again, just showing you guys that I really do like the ships in Star Wars, obviously. But still, I mean, this is a cool shot. I like the imagery here with the overall quality of the artwork here with the what's it called, with the clouds, just the hues and everything. The twilight looks cool to me. I don't know.
Oh yeah, it's definitely going to be another one of those interesting flight scenes. Really, just to don't really know what the scene's about or anything, but I think it. Star Wars has, like I was saying, just in general about these shows, the cinematography for all of these type of shots is so on point, and this scene, falls right in line with that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that is gonna wrap it up on our breakdown. Do you have any final thoughts and anything we went through today on these, Ben?
I think just in general, as I said to start this stream, I really think the trailer did a good job at setting the tone for the series. It's a darker series, obviously, since we're right around Order 66, and I think it's providing enough interest as well for the, say, general audience, because you throw in Fennec Shand in the trailer
Mm-hmm.
and people who watch Mando are like, oh, hey,
Yeah.
she's in that series. So I think we're going to have some really good crossover, potentially for like the mainstream audience. And then, yeah, I think there's really good potential for that, honestly.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a great series. Let's just hope it's sometime soon. I'm predicting maybe in February
Yeah.
or March.
Well, it's always a good omen or whatever you want to call it that when they already have the teaser trailer out like last month. So I mean, if you look at any other kind of Star Wars project or animation, usually the stuff comes out within 2 months, at least with animation or with the live action TV shows like Mando. Usually it's like a 2 month lead time from the trailer to when it actually comes out. So I think once we get back into the regular news flow of things later this week, everybody's usually back to work by this week, I think. So I think we'll probably get an official announcement pretty soon here with what's going on with Disney Plus with the dates and all, because they got to let us know the month before if it's coming out. So I assume February, because that's when Clone Wars came out, and well, there's no Star Wars content for the foreseeable future, so they're going to want to have this thing out ASAP, and hopefully it's longer than like 8 episodes, and it goes on like the Clone Wars for like 12 or even maybe 15. But then again, don't overstretch itself, because we don't want to have a lot of episodes that we feel like don't do much. So having a smaller batch of episodes but being tighter knit is the way to go, I think. And regardless of that fact, we're going to be here talking about those episodes. So
Oh
make
yeah.
sure you guys, check out the
I
channel,
was
because
gonna
we'll
say.
have that.
Oh, I was gonna throw in there one more little thing that I forgot to bring up during
Oh
this
yeah.
stream. If you notice during the trailer, and for anybody that's watching, if you go and replay the trailer, it actually the Bad Batch logo, it was in the original Clone Wars art,
Oh
and
yeah.
then it fades away into the new Bad Batch wording, the way it's worded. So I think that is also a signal of like, hey, this is the time of the Empire. Like just because the Clone Wars is done, this is the new era now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really like how they did that stylistically. That was
Yep.
cool. It just like it explodes and it just reveals itself. So
Yep.
yeah, I definitely dig that. I like the logo itself, just like that utilitarian, militaristic style, just like flat metal, Bad Batch. Like we're gonna be those '80s action stars, and hopefully we'll get a little bit more nuance to the characters because I know that's what something a lot of people want because they're pretty one note right now. But if they're getting their own series, you got to imagine there's going to be some depth and some deeper character motives to them as well.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so that is going to do it for us here. And you can expect, like I said, more Bad Batch content. I will be reviewing those in some capacity on the channel. So make sure you come back and check out that content. It's easy to do that. You just simply subscribe. For those of you watching, we are doing, well, actually, the High Republic is launching this week, I should say. So make sure you check out that whole content. I have a whole playlist on the channel. 200 years before the Phantom Menace. It's going to be very, very exciting. So make sure you check those books out because they will tie into a live action series later down the road. So that's going to do it for Ben. You can reach him on Twitter at Real Ben Maynard. You can reach me on Twitter at Star Raptor. That's going to do it for us. Thanks for watching, and may the force be with you always. Okay.